Kristen Oaks-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
Well, we begin our 2022 year of This Week in Louisiana Agriculture with stories from the 103rd annual meeting of the American Farm Bureau Federation in Atlanta, Georgia.
Louisiana was well represented at the first in-person convention since January of 2020, just before the COVID-19 pandemic began, which means it was also the first time Louisiana Farm Bureau President Jim Harper carried the flag of our great state across the stage at the opening general session.
But he was not the only one to represent our state very well. East Carroll Parish farmer Matt Dennis made the top 10 in the American Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Rangers Achievement Award competition. And Livingston Parish Extension agent Jessie Hoover talked her way into the Sweet 16 of the Young Farmers and Rangers discussion meet.
We're proud of those accomplishments and also proud of the work done at the annual meeting to ensure you and I have the food, fiber, and fuel we need for the future. Louisiana Farm Bureau President Jim Harper was part of a closed-door meeting with U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack, along with the other Farm Bureau presidents from across the country. President Harper says the group discussed several issues important to agriculture.
It was a very frank and open discussion. We talked about the livestock market and ways to improve it. We talked about waters of the U.S. We visited with him about the H-2A worker program and the problem we're having keeping foreign workers here. We also talked about the next farm bill, and we talked about trade with China. So it was a very informative meeting.
Shortly after that meeting, Secretary Vilsack spoke to everyone at the annual meeting during the closing general session. It was there that the Secretary announced programs dealing with climate change administered by USDA. While Vilsack is announcing these initiatives nearly 1 year into the Biden administration, Louisiana remains without a state farm services agency director. I asked the Secretary about the holdup.
It is a process, and it does take time. It takes time to basically identify individuals and then go through the security clearance and vetting that's required to make sure that they can be proper representatives of the Department of Agriculture. I think people understand the importance of getting it done, and I think you're going to continue to see a number of states rolling out over the course of the next couple of months in terms of these appointments. But let me just say, the work still gets done, notwithstanding the fact that we don't necessarily have an appointed state director. The career staff do a tremendous job making sure that everything gets done on time.
The convention culminated with the voting delegate session, which sets the policy going forward at the national level.
The person who represents that policy position in Washington, D.C. is American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall.
He is the American Farm Bureau president, but first and foremost, he's a cattle and poultry farmer from Georgia. So we took our Louisiana Farm Life segment on the road and sat down with President Duvall and his new bride to find out what life is like outside the Beltway. This land, about an hour east of Atlanta, Georgia, has supported the Duvall family for 3 generations. Vincent Zippy Duvall is president of the American Farm Bureau Federation, but first and foremost, he's a farmer.
It never fails. Every time I bring somebody down here with a camera, the ugliest one in the herd is going to come through the gate first.
Yeah, he may not be proud of the looks of at least one of his cows, but Duvall says it's here that he feels most at home.
I just love cows in general. I like fooling with them. Working cows is my favorite thing to do. I did realize when I got out of dairy business, so you had to have real catch pens, because beef cattle are different than milk cows. You can handle them in one stretch of wire and a board, but not a beef cattle.
Duvall made the transition from dairy cows to beef cattle in 2005 and is working to pass this farm to his son, along with the barn his grandfather built in 1939 and the values Duvall learned from his father.
When I was about 8 years old, he went back in the dairy business, and he claimed he did it to keep his sons out of trouble. So he gave us plenty to do, and he says, you're going to be so tired you'll go to bed at night instead of staying out all night. So that's where I grew up. While I was in college, he had a heart attack and said either if I wanted dairy, I had to come home and do it, or he was going to sell them. So I decided to come home.
At the time, this farm was only 100 acres, and Duvall had a lot to learn from his ailing father.
I had him 8 more years after he had his heart attack, and he couldn't physically work, but he rode with me a lot, talked to me a lot.
Yeah, I love cattle.
Through almost all of his time on the farm, Duval was not alone. His wife, Bonnie, was by his side, as close to him as this land.
There was an old cemetery on my place. It was all grown up and everything. The last couple of years, she was so sick. I spent a little bit of time, I was away from her on the farm. I spent over here cleaning the cemetery up. So when she passed, I buried her here on the farm. And this is where she's laid to rest.
Bonnie died of cancer in January of 2020. The cross serves as more than a marker, but a symbol of the faith in God they shared.
Yes. Bonnie's been gone 2 years now, and God's blessed me and brought another special woman into my life, and we were married about 3 weeks ago in the middle of December.
That special woman is Jennifer, a retired teacher who also knows what it's like to lose her first love.
I lost my husband, Bill, in May of 2012, and that was a hard year. I lost my husband in 2012 in May, and 7 months later, my father passed away. And I was very, very close to my father, so the two most important men in my life were gone within 7 months.
The two often talk about their first loves and support each other.
Sometimes I'll catch her shedding a tear, and she'll catch me shedding a tear, and we'll just say, one of those moments, huh?
Yes.
And we just hug each other and get us through it. So.
Exactly.
And together, they've gotten back into the dairy cow business. Well, sorta.
Our Jersey calf is our pet. Her name's
Yes.
Lucy.
I've never had a Jersey before. So that was my surprise birthday present this year in October. And she's amazing.
Amazing, just like their Georgia farm life.
Our new pet.
While we were there, we also recorded a brand new episode of the Louisiana Farm Life podcast with Zippy and Jennifer. In essence, it's the TV interview unedited. Now, in the episode, we talk more about the importance of rural mental health and what made President Duval realize its importance. It's a great conversation, and you can find it anywhere you listen to podcasts right now. You can go look for it right now. We'll link you to that episode and more on our website at twilatv.org. And it was just so refreshing to sit down with him as just a farmer. And he was so gracious and took us all around his farm. Something that didn't make the story and didn't make the podcast, when we were out touring his fields in his pastures with the cattle, it was Monica Velasquez and I, the golf cart ran out of battery.
Oh,
It's like,
that's no good.
yeah, so he had to go and he went get his truck and towed it on back. I got to steer it back and everything. But it was just one of those really humanizing moments where, you know, he's a farmer where things go wrong and he finds ways to overcome it. I mean, just like the way he took an old dairy barn and our old poultry house and turned it into a dairy barn. It was really, really cool.
He's always had a special place in my heart because he reminds me of somebody that I grew up with. My dad, same type of farming operation, so I've always liked Zippy a lot.
Yep, well, we hope he stays there for quite a while. Still to come on This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, we take you to the mountains of North Georgia for some breathtaking views and a tasty story.
More coverage from the American Farm Bureau Convention in Atlanta is coming up. Stay with us.
While the convention was going on in Atlanta, some of the convention goers got to tour some of the farms around the state.
Mercer Farms, tucked away in the beautiful North Georgia mountains, opened its doors to the world. TWILA's Neil Melanson has the story.
The sun rises on another day in the North Georgia mountains. Near the town of Blue Ridge is Mercer Farms, an orchard now in its third generation. They're known for their apples, but there's a whole lot of products here that they both grow and produce, according to manager David Lillard.
We started as an apple orchard way back in the 40s. To continue our growing periods, to extend our growing periods, we put in other fruits, kind of auxiliary fruits like peaches. We do blackberries, blueberries, and strawberries here on the farm.
The farm spans about 300 acres, which might not seem like a lot, but when you have to pick it all by hand plus make the goods, there's a lot to do here.
It's really amazing that once I get people in the door and I say, you know what? Yeah, we do farm. That's right. There's a lot of stuff that goes on outside, digging in the dirt and planting and pruning and fertilizing and all that. But there's a lot more to this farming business than you really think. We've got people that work directly in marketing. We've got people that work in social media. We've got finance people. We've got HR people, we've got food safety people, we've got bakers, we've got juice producers, we've got retail clerks. So there's a lot that goes in to a small farm like this, especially as diversified as we are.
Finding labor is an issue here. Just like any farm, Mercer Orchards has its labor challenges, and mechanical options are expensive.
The double-edged part of the sword is that it's getting harder and harder, I believe, for small farms to stay afloat because of a labor shortage. I've noticed that a lot of my older folks have retired, and a lot of the younger folks are going off to college, and they kind of want better for themselves. Not that farming isn't good, but as of now, we can't really pay the wages to compete with a Microsoft or a Google or an executive job somewhere.
David's grandparents founded the farm in 1943. He says while keeping it alive for the next generation is a lot of work, it was better than an office in the city.
I'm sitting at our old apple house, which was built at the turn of the century. It's an old wooden building, but I'm looking out across my orchard into the state of North Carolina right here, and I'm looking over here into the state of Tennessee, and it's absolutely breathtaking. Like I said, I'd never go back to Atlanta.
And from up here, it's not hard to see why he thinks that way. For This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Neil Malazan.
Now, the bad news with this story is that we can't bring you the taste and smells of those Mercer Farms products.
Of course, Neil would not bring anything back for us. That makes sense. Gotcha.
Well, you were the one who was actually in Georgia. Why didn't you bring anything back?
I brought some things back. They just weren't edible.
Well, the good news is that they do ship. For more on them and their products, you can find the link on our website at twilatv.org. Well, another tour that was at this year's convention was the visit to Georgia's first robotic dairy farm located just outside of Augusta.
Our friends at Farm Monitor, the Georgia Farm Bureau TV show, shared this next story with us, showing us how Hillcrest Farms adopted new technology to make it sustainable for the next generation.
The reason we went to robots here at Hillcrest was for our next generation that's going to run the farm. My daughter and my nephew, we were talking about building a new parlor, and with that kind of investment, we were halfway to buying robots. So we decided to build a new facility, put robots in, and it also would be better on them and more challenging than the monotonous milking that we were doing before every 8 hours. Now the cows go milk when they want to milk, so it's better on my daughter and my nephew. It's better on our staff. It gives them flexibility to go watch their kids play a ball game and then come back and finish their chores because the cows are still milking. So I think it just really makes for a better work environment for the next generation coming on. The timeline for this, it took us a good 2 years in doing our due diligence, going to visit other robot barns to see how they were managing their cows. It is a different way to manage cattle. It is a better way to manage your cows. It is more comfortable for the cows. They kind of just stay in the barn and do what they want to do every day. They go to a brush when they want a massage, and then they come to the robot when they want to milk, and they go eat anytime 24/7 when they want to eat. So the cow sets her day. And it allows us also to have flexibility as well as the cows. So all this stuff went into the process of learning or how we were going to do this process. The technology with these robots are awesome. So now they can go to micromanaging the cow's day. They can look at all this data from the robot. They know her motion in 3 dimensions. They know what each individual quarter of that cow gave that day. It monitors the quality of the milk, and it lets us know if there's a problem, and it diverts it down the drain. It cleans the cow better, and it does it consistently. Every day, 24 hours a day, it's going to do the exact same thing. And you can take the best human in the world, and you cannot be that repetitive. It was a concern would they give less milk when we went to robots. We were the top producing dairy in the state per cow at that time. And with robots, it gives you the opportunity to manage when she's milking. So we may want to milk her less times as she gives less milk. We can adjust her permissions to come to the robot. So when she's giving a lot of milk, we can actually milk them 4 or 5 times a day when they come to the robot. But they set the schedule, not us. Cows learn faster than people. You know, within about 3 days, you can see individual cows going, wow, I'm gonna outrun you and go in this robot and get milk. They just love it. It takes about 3 weeks for staff to start understanding the process, and it doesn't take so much outside guidance to keep us going from day to day. And you could really tell a difference at 2 months in. It was starting to get easier on us, and we were starting to relax from the strain of making this transition. Did I second guess myself during this process? Sure. With me and Andy at our age, this is a huge investment, and it's a long-term investment. But I think down the road, with getting harder to find labor, I think it was a good investment in the labor that I had to challenge them, a good investment in the Gen 4s, our Generation 4s coming in to manage the business now. And my goal here is I want to be the guy that does some farm tours and people come in and go, hey, I'd like to see Georgia's first robotic dairy.
You can tour the dairy and see the robots milk cows before your very eyes whenever you're in that part of the world. To learn more, head over to our website at twilatv.org. Still to come on TWILA, we meet the 2022 American Farm Bureau Dog of the Year.
But first, we'll see one more place you must visit the next time you find your way to Atlanta. Stay with us. Before Atlanta started to expand into the metropolitan city that it is today, farms surrounded the city. Though urban sprawl has replaced some of those farms with neighborhoods and developments, a few farms remain in that area.
One of those is Southern Belle Farm, a farm growing crops of strawberries, Georgia peaches, muscadines, and more. We traveled to the farm to meet Jake Carter, who had the idea 15 years ago to turn his family's beef cattle operation into a huge must-see agritourism destination.
We didn't know if it would work. I think my dad looked at me one day and said, your grandfather would roll over in his grave if he knew that people were paying us money to walk through a cornfield. The farm was established in 1938, originally established by my great-grandfather, who was a sharecropper. He moved around to, I think it was 8 different farms within this community before he settled on the ground that we call Southern Belle Farm today. In 2006, Henry County was one of the fastest growing counties in the nation. So we decided in 2006, as we were becoming a very urban community, that, you know what, we have an opportunity here. 2 things. I would be able to fulfill a lifelong dream of becoming a farmer, just like my dad and granddad, but we could also educate the community about agriculture. So we decided at that time we'd take those big locks off the gates, open it up, and just see what happened. And that's when we decided to start the agritourism portion of Southern Belle Farm. We're really just selling an experience. You know, people are coming out to buy the strawberries, but what they're doing is making memories in the process. Started our first year, I think we had a corn maze, we had a hay ride, a little cow train, and man, we didn't know if anybody were ever gonna show up. You know, it's not like the first person that came into the farm, I think I hugged their neck. You know, I think the first season we opened, we had about 3,000 people that come out. This past year in 2021, it's estimated that over 500,000 people have visited the farm, and most of those people are coming from Metro Atlanta. So we're just really humbled by the outpouring of support for this from this community that are coming out to make memories. You know, one of our taglines is, "We grow family traditions." So that's one of the things that we want to continue to provide to this community.
If you're in Atlanta and would like to visit Southern Belle Farm, they open up in April for strawberry season. We'll have activities all the way into the fall for the entire family. You can learn more at our website, twilatv.org. One of the cool things they do inside the store, Kristen, and this is ingenious, they pipe in the smell of their bakery into the rest of the store. They have a vent specifically to send that smell out.
Just lure you right into it.
Exactly, get you hungry the entire time you're there. Well, each year at the American Farm Bureau Convention, we recognize the best and brightest in agriculture from across the country, from young farmers to top states to ag entrepreneurs.
They also recognize the top 4-legged furry friend with the honor of being named Farm Dog of the Year. This year, the winner is Fit, a border collie from Florida.
She's literally my right-hand dog, right-hand girl. I'm pretty much never without her. If I'm out here on the farm, she is almost always with me. We're very kindred spirits. I feel like we're kind of, our souls are connected. We kind of read each other's minds. Fit is almost 6-year-old border collie. Fit came to us from Scotland. I bought her when she was about 14 months old. She's probably one of the best ambassadors of a border collie you'll ever find. She's just an amazing dog. Fit is our prime working dog. She does a lot of chores on the farm. Every day she has to bring the sheep out, you know, whether they're in the barn or in different pastures. She has to move them from place to place. She helps with feeding chores. But what makes her so special is this uncanny natural ability she has to read situations. She knows more about livestock than I'll ever hope to know, so I trust her decisions over mine any day. Good girl, Fit. There you go, back up.
Here.
Take her, get your sheep.
Get your sheep.
Get your
Go get him.
Good, Fit, lie down. There you go.
Come on, take her here.
He's doing good, Diane.
Wait,
We use her in training to help teach the young dogs how to herd. Good job. We let them go follow Fit and mimic her behaviors and hope that by mimicking, they'll learn how to be better herders. Fit keeps them from running down the pasture, so she'll put them back together for the young dogs. She tries to keep things organized. That's her job.
Come here. I'll never get him to where she is, but I'd like him to get to where he's more helpful and can do half of what she does, because she's amazing. She's just amazing. A well-trained dog is a necessity if you're going to have any number of livestock. Fit's really going to help him learn these things that he needs to learn and help me. It's become something that's really necessary as a one-person operation. She's just been great for him. I mean, she's one in a million.
A really good working dog can make or break a farm situation. She'll work with any breed of dog. She's good with every person, child, adult. And besides that, she's a wonderful pet. I literally feel like her and I are like just a bonded spirit together. Our whole lives are so intertwined. It's really an amazing feeling to have a dog like her. I think it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Before we close out the show, we must thank some people who helped make this show possible.
Our friends at American Farm Bureau, John Earl, Jonna Miller, Zippy, and Jennifer Duvall, for top-notch hospitality, a great convention, and lots of footage that we used in this show, so thanks a lot.
Also, Ray, John, and the rest of the team at Georgia Farm Bureau and the Farm Monitor, thanks for sharing footage, stories, and connecting us with farmers in and around your state.
And I also have to give a special thank you to Monica Velasquez, who is our graphic designer. She went out with me to Atlanta, Georgia, and spent more time than she wanted in a car, so thanks for helping us out over there. Well, be sure to join us next week when we'll have a brand new Feasting on Agriculture featuring a brand new brand of Louisiana rice.
That's true. Until then, you can watch all of our stories and more online at twilatv.org, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also find all of these stories and more on our YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe to us there and turn on the notifications so you know exactly when we put out new content.
Got to get those little dings here and there. For all of us here at TWILA, thanks for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.